Good day, brothers and sisters, and welcome to the show. And are you afraid of UFOs? Are you appalled by the government hiding UFOs and all the evidence that they have on all those alien crafts and aliens throughout decades? That's what they say. The whistleblower focuses on that. And we're here to tell you, maybe that's not what you should focus on. Why did it come up just a few days ago? And why did they have this hearing on 26? And why are we talking about today instead of other things that are more precedent? We heard about disclosure happening in the last few years from TikTok videos. And here in Canada, we had Minister of Defense, Paul Hellyer. And that's why Andre Cadorette is here, because, you know, him and Paul Hellyer go back in the day. Yes, Andre, you'll tell us all about it.
We're boys.
Yeah, you're the boys. But important thing is, why is this in the news right now? Also, we have James Bradley from California. James, nobody can see you yet, but here's the boys, and we're going to have definitely a really good roundtable, and we're going to talk about this and how come we're not focusing on other stories, and they want us to focus. And I'm telling you why it's important, because that UFO story that I just brought it up is important, because I had people call me, you need to cover this. You need to cover this. And I'm like, well, I guess it served its purpose, and that's why we're going to cover it. So we're going to talk about this in a second, brothers and sisters. See you in a minute. So welcome to Alex Sass Show here at the Glen Zone with Glenn Herring and his per usual Andre Cadorette and James Bradley, all the way from CA, you know, the other liberal Nazi state that we have here in North America, other than Canada, right? I don't know what's worse, California or Canada. Some parts of Canada, like Alberta, are kind of somewhat acceptable, right? But I don't know, James. California is really terrible. How's California?
Oh, we're still here. Most of which want to see us just fall into the Pacific Ocean. Yeah, but you know, there's a little hope here. Honestly, we have more registered Republicans in the county of Los Angeles than we do in most states. So I think we have enough ground force to change the state. Those that are optimists like myself, I'll never give in, never give up.
So let's get straight to the story. So the story
Retired
is
Navy Commander David Fravor
is a whistleblower in Congress testifying in the last few days. And he's talking about how he was exposed to all those documents. And we heard this many times.
I was informed in the course of my official duties of a multi-decade UAP crash retrieval and reverse engineering program, to which I was denied access to those additional read-ons when I requested it. I made the decision, based on the data I collected, to report this information to my superiors and multiple inspectors general, and in effect becoming a whistleblower. As you know, I've suffered retaliation for my decision, but I am hopeful that my actions will ultimately lead to a positive outcome of increased transparency.
Do you believe UAPs pose a potential threat to our national security?
Yes, and here's why. The technology that we faced was far superior than anything that we had, and you could put that anywhere. If you had one, you captured one, you reverse engineered it, you got it to work, you're talking something that can go into space, go someplace, drop down in a matter of seconds, do whatever it wants, and leave, and there's nothing we can do about it.
And this is where I call BS on this story, because, you know, the congressman said, are you afraid? What should we be afraid of in this particular story? And the way the admiral or whatever commander went, commander went in the ways like, well, because we are so divided here on the planet Earth, if it is a planet, if we are so divided on this thing, and that we're going to be afraid of attacking each other with this extra technology. Andre, I know you got something to say about, especially with your understanding of the subject through relationship with Paul Hellyer. Tell me what you stand on that.
So putting that on me as a mentor, as a guy I looked up to. I read everything he wrote, and Yeah, I don't know where to start. I would go along with you when they tell us to jump, and here we are jumping. But I think it's the last card in their deck as far as, I wouldn't even say false flags. It's just as far as the attention getter and the one that could actually get people to scream at this point. Was it Reagan or Nixon addressing the UN?
Reagan.
Reagan's wet dream right now as far as getting everybody rallied together to fight a common enemy, so we just don't look at who's screwing us every day.
Glenn, what do you think about that?
Well, we're talking about UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena, but there's also another UAP, they call it, is unidentified anomalous phenomena. Okay, so be wary of the media because they're talking about the old UFOs, but if the media is talking about it, then it's unidentified flying optics. It's amazing that this is coming out right now. You know, I wouldn't be surprised to watch things in Ukraine start quieting down right now as the world seems to be focusing on this UFO phenomena that's all of a sudden, you know, rising into Congress and being exposed.
Considering what it's replacing in the headlines and whatnot, it's kind of a clear indication it's a bait and switch smoke show. So,
James, your take on that?
Politically, this is an art of distraction and deflection. We saw what was happening under Hunter Biden, and clearly from my perspective, which tends to be more political than most, hey, forget about the man behind the mirror. Just ignore that. Now here's the new optics of the day, creating a new narrative. So that's how they get away and they skirt away from addressing those questions, especially the press secretary.
Okay, let's watch the video about Hunter. That's, by the way, brothers and sisters, the whole story is happening exactly at the same time as Hunter was going to go and make a deal with DEA about a tax fraud associated with the whole Ukraine deal and getting millions of dollars for him. But there's way too much information to hide, and now we know there's more elements to the story. And it actually didn't work, and that's why I think part of the distraction was that UFO story. Let's listen to what actually happened.
A courtroom surprise for President Biden's son, Hunter, who was widely expected to walk out of a court today with most of his legal troubles behind him. Instead, the younger Biden saw his plea arrangement with the government over tax charges crumble when the judge challenged some of the terms of the deal, including a constitutional question, telling the two sides she cannot accept or reject the plea agreement. The upshot, instead of pleading guilty to failing to pay his taxes for 2 years, as the arrangement called for, Hunter Biden pled not guilty to the charges. The two sides ordered to provide the court with more information. Hunter Biden has been a frequent target of President Biden's political adversaries, with many calling the...
Glenn, is he a target or is that legitimate?
Well, it's more like, uh-oh, daddy, I'm in trouble now. They're not giving in so easily anymore.
Struggling drug addict that happens to leave exhibit A, B, C, D, E, F, G all on a hard drive willfully because of, you know, his circumstance. So blaming it on the political adversaries is kind of comical.
Oh, yeah. I like just question. He's paying for his attorneys. Didn't he claim poverty? That's Daddy. Thank you, Daddy. Once again. Yeah, we really, you know, from my perspective, of course, most of the conservative base here, we're looking at Hunter and how he's gotten away in this two-justice system that we've been exposed to for so long. But I can tell you, we might have some surprises coming up. Did he plead guilty on the gun charge?
He did plead guilty.
Okay, that's a federal offense. And I know they are now dismissing this, not dismissing it, but they're delaying the next stage of the court proceedings until October. That's what I've heard. So we might see something additional come up between now and then.
Yeah, Daddy Biden was saying that the Republicans are going after him now because he's responsible for bringing down the inflation. That's why they're going after him, really.
Brothers and sisters, I do actually have something to say, like regarding the UFO thing. I didn't just dismiss the UFO thing altogether. There's something I have to say about this, and we'll get into it. But like I said, because it is a distraction, let's focus on the actual stories that we're being distracted from. Also, what happened is Trump got charged, right? There's more charges added to a Trump story. Glenn, what do you know about that?
Champ, you're just throwing everything on the table. Back to the UFOs. If the UFOs land in Canada and they say, take me to your leader, so we bring in the Trudeau. I mean, this UFO is just going to laugh its head off.
Trudeau is an alien.
Trudeau is probably going to ask him, do you have any young aliens on board with you? Like maybe I could have sex with?
No, you're taking it too far, man. I don't think it's going to be that. I think Trudeau is going to do is like, did you register with LGBTQ association or something? Do you have a pass? You put a rainbow on a UFO or the craft, and he'll make sure that it's up to the diversity standards, and that you have and also he's going to check if the UFO is electric.
and if the
I actually heard he's a reptilian.
Yeah, if the UFO lands in America, he's going to take me to your leader, and they're going to show him Biden. He's just going to oh, let's get out of here. This is a nutcase, because Biden's probably going to try and sniff him, see if he's eatable or something.
No, but those people are aliens.
Or if they land during a pride parade, they're going to say,
I'm home.
Let's get out of here. And they call us aliens.
No, that's the whole point. It kind of opens up this whole can of worms. And I think that's exactly what we're doing here, is actually the fact that we are taking the conversation in that direction. What they're taking our eyes off from specifically, Trump is obviously being attacked. Like, we have two contrast story here. We know gun charges for Hunter Biden. Imagine there was Trump Jr., not Trump. Imagine the tax evasion for Trump Jr. in relation to Trump. Right now, we're here. So again, we understand why it's happening. We understand why this is happening. We also understand why the UFO story is happening. That's the whole thing. That's why I'm trying to bring attention to this. But there's definitely one more charges added to Trump over the weekend, and it's definitely a witch hunt. And I don't know, is he even gonna, in your guys' opinion, at this point, is he even a valid candidate for re-election, or he's got too much baggage?
Oh, they're making him a folk hero. Who wouldn't want to go after the badass, right? Think about it. And we all know this. I mean, in our hearts, we've watched what they've done to him for the last 6 years. And that was the main reason why I got into politics, is because of what the impeach resist movement. But yeah, this is very common. I think he's going to gain more support. I do believe he'll get the Republican endorsement, despite DeSantis and a few others that are jumping in. So this is going to build his popularity, and there are more coming. They're just trying to stop him, destroy his life, and stop him from running in politics ever again. But it's going to backfire.
He's just showing his unbreakable will of a leader.
Oh, what else I think is happening is, I think that's actually a bigger story, is that, for example, Jim Jordan, right, our folk hero for real, in the Senate, he is discovered the so-called Facebook, what do they call it now? Facebook documents that disclose. Now he sees actually the smoking gun documents, they call it, prove that Facebook censored Americans on behalf of the White House. So political.
Well, it's about time. Really, Alex, and I'll interject briefly. Mm-hmm. This happened to me in 2020 when I was running against Ted Lieu of Facebook, and a FOIA request Tom Fitton put together. And there it goes, my name. They took me off of Instagram, Facebook, and shadow banned me and other platforms. So this has been around for quite a few years now. And it's so glad that Jim Jordan is finally getting it to the point where, hey, this is a violation. Well, gosh, Jim, where have you been, buddy?
Okay, so we have, and I think it's also connected. Well, that's the whole point, is that the polarization is fake, and they're only releasing this information when they need to be released for whatever purposes. Because, obviously, they had way more information on COVID before they released it. They know everything about that's going on, and it's all controlled release. It's a controlled release of information. That's why, James, in my opinion, if we continue to play the same game, we're going to always lose, because it's the game is rigged for them to win, whoever them are. And we can have that discussion of whoever they are. So, James, the question to you, what do we need to do is to break the game? Do we need to get rid of FBI, CIA? Do we need to get rid of the two-party system? Is it even possible? is the only thing that like is political action is a solution, or like something like civil war. And I don't mean like people killing each other, but maybe not civil war, or civil disobedience, some kind of annexation. Let's connect California to Canada and Alberta to United States, and maybe that will be a fair exchange or something. I don't know. Like, how can you fix this situation other than like this? I don't know. Is political action enough to fix the things how far gone in the West?
But yeah, you're right. You're right. I thought about this, and I think about it often. I also strategize with General Flynn. You remember that guy, right? General Flynn.
Yes.
He's a good friend of mine, and we talk about this quite often. Well, actually, as often as he can be, because I think he's part of the Trump team, which he deserves a good place. And if anyone deserves reparations, it's that young man there. But we talk about it often. We talk about what's the right strategy going forward. We have, and I tell you, the Democrats, or if you want to call the establishment, they're always 4 steps ahead of us. We're starting to catch up. So in there are discussions about strategy. How do we meet and exceed what they're doing, the tactics and the strategies they've been deploying? But, you're right. You have to own the media. They own the media, right? They own the 3-letter agencies. We know that now. They're very corrupt. But also, how do we win back our local areas? And that is actually, it's a nuance, because every local area is different. There's different techniques you can apply to take back school boards. Board of Supervisors is what we call them here. They handle the finances of each of the different counties, so on and so forth. So how do you go local, then you go state, then you go federal? So we thought about this. We have a strategy in place, and we're deploying it as we go. So there is hope.
You want to hear what the Jim Jordan has to say about it?
Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer. Congressman Comer, this is wild. What else can you tell us?
Well, this confirmed key components of what the IRS whistleblowers told the Ways and Means Committee in a transcribed interview. And this is good because many Democrats and many in the liberal media have tried to discredit the whistleblowers prior to the committee hearing that we're going to have on Wednesday. So these 2 whistleblowers are going to come in front of the American people, in front of the House Oversight Committee on Wednesday for about 6 hours. And the American people are going to get to hear the truth from 2 credible people on the front lines that were in charge of trying to find corruption within the IRS. And here, what this FBI agent confirmed is they were blocked at every turn. They were tipped off. The Secret Service tipped off the Biden, as well as the Biden transition team. Why would the Biden transition team need to know that the whistleblowers were about to interview Hunter Biden? So I think this is good stuff, and it adds credibility to our whistleblowers.
Congressman Jordan, we understand that one of the whistleblowers is going to reveal himself later this week, or herself later this week. What do you expect that will do to the Democrats' attempt to really smear this whole process? And you know they're going to end up further trying to smear these individuals.
Well, these 2 whistleblowers have been nothing but credible, and today with the FBI agent confirming key parts of their testimony, that just gives more credibility. This is quickly coming down to, Laura, who are you going to believe? The Biden Justice Department.
Andre, that's actually to you because it's a whistleblowing. Okay. Glenn, you want to say something? Go ahead.
Yeah, you notice all of a sudden there's all kinds of whistleblowers out there. I mean, there's going to be more whistleblowers than Heinz has tomatoes soon, because now they're starting to feel safe. You see, they know that the good side is starting to win. So the whistleblowers, they're coming out and they're starting to tell everybody the truth of what's been going on, whether it's UFOs or Hunter the junkie or the old man taking money from China and Ukraine. And so it's all being exposed, and it's a controlled demolition so that you don't overwhelm the people, and it'll be a controlled upstart to the new globalists, the new leaders, I believe, that are starting to take charge.
So do you actually guys have faith that, like, again, I'm going to bring it up like a broken record. Do you think this whole whistleblowing and going in front of the court, in front of the Senate, and we seen people like Fauci, perjuring himself in front of the Senate time after time, in front of the Jim Jordan, in front of the people. And those people still, According to Glenn, they're not walking around free because we haven't seen them. They may be far gone already. But the point is, like, I don't see no action taken against them that is meaningful enough. The point is, I don't have, and I'm not trying to be grim, but I don't have faith in the process because it's so tainted. There's no judiciary, there's no justice system in place because, like what they're saying, like it's so corrupt. Even then, when they went to FBI and saying, "Well, this is what's happening," there was a callback line into the White House saying, "This is what's happening, and you should cover your ass." The same thing. Totally, my point exactly. Cocaine story. With all the cameras in the world and with all the securities in the White House, we definitely know it was Junkie the Hunter or whatever, maybe Kamala or maybe Junkies, whoever it is. But somebody brought the cocaine to White House. You telling me the story didn't go anywhere? You try to bring a bag of cocaine in the airport and see what happens, how quickly they find out everything about you.
U.S. is a beacon of hope for us, and Canada looking down, like we're just the structure of government and the history and watching what's happening in the U.S. You know, it's been 4 years of that, exactly what you're describing, Alex. There's no end in sight. It's the opposite. The judicial is just being weaponized more and more aggressively and toned down to their needs for whatever instance they're dealing with. And I believe my optimism doesn't lie within this system. It's what's coming up. Unfortunately, like I believe the Republicans or conservatives would have drawn the line in the sand before, like 4 years ago, of saying what would have been reasons for secession, and I'm pretty sure they would have enumerated things that we've already lived through. So I'll even push the question now, as far as it'd be interesting to see what they would right now say is a make it or break it for them to go through the process of contemplating secession. And I don't know American politics too well. I project on them with huge optimism because it's a beacon of freedom. But I like to think that this, not even a threat, this ability to be able to secede, if certain non-negotiables are run through, because now they keep running through non-negotiables that, again, people were listed 4 or 5 years ago as just an obvious thing. And now, as Alex is mentioning, it just gets worse and worse. And Jim Jordan's just getting so excited. And how many times have we seen that in the past 4 years? They got him, we got him, and then it ends up nowhere. Like you said, we should have easily found the cocaine culprit, and that's like an obvious one. But they have even so many more like this happening in the past 3 years that I'm optimistic for the future. New systems, new ways of governance, and unfortunately, I don't see the old system addressing this.
New monetary system too? New type of banking system, perhaps?
Well, with the ET stuff that we're talking about and the cover up in the media, the way that I'm covering it so far is the BRICS are meeting in August, and the BRICS are announcing the gold-backed currency. So what a great time! You know, the last two people contemplated this are Gaddafi, dead. Saddam Hussein, petrodollar could also be linked with gold, dead. So now that we have this collective of like who's going to kill Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South, you know, you just can't do it. So the irony that the biggest story of this alien that they have left in their deck is not yet. I think it's coming forward, but with the BRICS in the next couple of weeks meeting and officializing and making it official that they're going to have a gold-backed currency, like I can't wait to see how the markets are going to react, how the dollar is going to react. And then how they're going to be pushing more of this alien stuff down our throat, because then we need to unite with the BRICS and not fight with the BRICS. And
James, so what do you think? I mean, obviously, you're not new to politics, and you ran for Senate last time. And let's say if you're going to run for Senate this time, like the issues that were just brought up in this conversation in the last 5 minutes, how would you address it as a politician? Is a man, actually, how do you address it as a man, as a family man, as a politician, as a patriot, and proud American? And also, but also like logically, you know, is there a way to change the system, or do you erase everything? I don't know. Tell me.
Well, first, you know your enemy, and yes, we have to go back to the founding fathers' documents, the charter, then they go into the Constitution. So everything based on the Constitution gives us the unalienable God-given rights to do what we're doing today, which of course the current administration is vilifying, calling us conspiracy theorists, as well as in the terror watch list. So that's what the current administration is doing. But how do we fight back? Yeah, God. God was always in the center of it. God's founded this nation. We were founded on God, and we just have to bring God back in the center again for those that are willing to listen. But, there are some tactics we can use. Our elections are compromised. We know that. You've heard of Dominion, Smartmatic, Diabol. These are technologies they're doing. But also, what I've been doing for the last 2-3 years now is I've been working on cleaning up the elections in California. I launched a lawsuit back in 2020 to get to the issues, not on the election of 2020, but the entire process. So without a clean, fair, honest election, you have no constitutional republic. You don't have a democracy. So that's one of the many arrows we have in our quiver. It's already in motion, and we're making some good progress there. But also, we look at the judicial system. We know how corrupt it is. The DOJ, FBI, CIA, all three letter agencies. The only way we can correct the course of that is getting in a Trump or someone like Trump in office. And, that when you asked me about Trump earlier, he is honestly becoming the modern day folk hero. Who doesn't like a badass, right? He's being a badass. He's putting it back. And I speak with quite a few people throughout California and the nation. They're saying, gosh, what are they doing to Trump? Well, are you finally awakened yet? You're finally seeing what they're doing. All these trumped up charges, excuse the term Trump, but all these allegations, they're all nothing. There's no material evidence behind it. We know it's a strategy. We know what they're doing, but get someone like Trump, preferably Trump in office, that leads by example, peace through strength. So what I'm going to do, I have so many things that I'm already doing to bring us back to some constitutional governance. And I work with quite a few people throughout the state of California, and we're doing it, in the courtrooms, in the Capitol, speaking against Gavin Newsom, feeding him. And you have to look at every different strategy. The court system being corrupt as it is, there's a process in which you feel you have corrupt judicial system. We're exploring that now. And so you have to look at things differently from different angles to figure out how to maneuver and fight against. I mean, I tell you, when you challenge Antifa, BLM, and all the others, the George Soros mindsets and groups, they are weak. They will never go toe-to-toe with a true patriot. And I tell you, I've never seen so many patriots come to the call. So how are we going to do it? It's going to be played out. A lot of things that I already have in motion is going to happen because it has teeth. Now, the biggest challenge is the funding, right? We don't have a conservative George Soros out there, except for there's a few out there, but they kind of lean a little bit left. So we're working on that. But I'd say those in Canada, a lot of brothers and sisters, great friends of mine live in Canada. Watch me and watch the other patriots take back the great nation of the United States. And if this shows as a good sign for you and hope, maybe you should succeed from Canada.
No, the better. No, don't joke. That's not a joke. That's not a joke. If you somehow have impact on, on that decision, invade Canada.
Yes,
or at
please.
Least
Yes,
one
please.
of the please
free us. Free us.
Yeah, I'll show you the way.
Yeah.
I'll shine the light.
We'll talk off camera.
G-Man needs a visa to USA.
Yeah,
big
citizenship,
time,
or at
big
least
time.
take Alberta. I'm moving to Alberta. When you take it, I'll they got oil. Take Alberta.
You guys are already.
Tell you, even in the agencies, we have the white hats. You're familiar with that term. The ones that are real patriots, it's the upper level, the Pentagon, the executive management, the SES, the Senior Executive Service. That's a recruiting tool. They bring in industry professionals like myself, and they can become the department chief of staff. In fact, I interviewed for the chief of staff position for DHS before I got into politics. So those are the ones that kind of control it, that get bought out, and we know who's buying them out. It's really simple. You can see it. It's DOJ. I mean, that's a clear example. They had a clean. I'm not going to let the Congress and Senate get off easy.
Okay.
Because I know.
So you're talking about buying people out. So, we know what is Zuckerberg. He's like a Rothschild's cousin or something like that, right? So nephew, Zuckerberg, you say nephew, right? So we have the newly disclosed emails from within Facebook that now Meta revealed that the Biden administration and its appointed officials exerted a significant pressure on the tech giant. Mark Zuckerberg's Facebook frequently bent the knee to the White House, demanded such as one case in which email state executives were ready to tell the White House that it had demoted a video posted by Tucker Karlson by 50% in response to the White House demands, even though the post didn't violate the policies, right? So even if it did violate the policies, well, obviously, if something like this can possibly be happen, we observe that, freedom of speech, freedom of expression, or, just opinions are limited to only one group. And that's going back to what is it, forced behavior, right? Forced thinking. Like this is they want you to think differently. And the prime example here, I think in Canada, when all this playing gimmick happened, they were telling us, 70% of population is vaccinated, 80% of population is about 90% of 95%, 99, there's 1% left, and it's you need to get, because everybody else is, you need to stop being this. And then you find out later, you walk around and ask your friends, like, did you get it? They're like, no. Did you get it? No. I mean, there's obviously a percentage. So obviously the line, even based on those statistics. So I have even that 50% or whatever it is they're saying is pretty awful. But let's segue a little bit farther down. I mean, we can beat we're already aware that like shows like ours, for example, were being shadow banned, or even we went to YT jail here with Glenn proclaiming that I'm going to say it, see if we're going to go to jail. Should I say it? Let's test the waters. So what we said is playing gimmick was I'm not going to say it. I'll say it enough.
We don't want to be you screwed again. Exactly.
I'll say it after August 2nd. That's when we're supposed to they're supposed to remove some of our penalties. But I want to focus on this other story. So there's another story that, other than Hunter Biden's story, DOJ, again, justice system, it's really, really corrupt and screwed up. We did hear about, like, why do we use Facebook as an example just now? Why did I use Facebook as an example right now? Because we know this is the organizations, because, companies like BlackRock and Rothschilds and all that, or George Soros's of the world, they finance political campaigns, James, right? And that's what you got to fight. And that's what you brought up. Like, well, how do you start? How do you deal against the funding? And we know how they channel the money from Ukraine. That's the show we covered previously before. Like all the money that being loaded from Ukraine, they're being funneled back into Democratic campaigns, right? Into BLMs and what do they call it? Trantifa and all those other organizations. But DOJ drops the campaign finance charges against Sam Bankman. Right, and it's really interesting. This is the guy who had this crypto thing going on. I don't know, Andre, you have the financial background. You can maybe tell me more about this guy. But he was arrested on some fraud charges and all this other stuff. And apparently, they channeled some money back into financing Democratic campaigns, and enormous amounts of money. And now this is dropped just as they found the body of one of other crypto millionaires in the suitcase, cut up in little pieces. And I don't know if, James, if you saw that story or not, but millionaire crypto influencer found dismembered in a suitcase. I don't know his name. Andre, did you know anything
that's
to
a
the
new story to me.
And he was found by children. A lot of these millionaires and children, they're a little bit weird, especially these crypto guys.
So that all comes in light of everything that's happening right now with this UFO story. Obviously, to the UFO stories takes the front page, and you don't hear about this. And James, it's the reason why you're on the show right now is because you are bringing up to a point where, like, I have to fight against all those unlimited funding, and you have to go grassroots fundraising the proper way, the correct way, where those other interest groups. They get funding from other interest groups and it's pretty much unlimited because they're just printed money, right? and they funnel back into the political campaigns to continue to print money and all that stuff. How do you fight that, James?
Well, there's quite a few very, very wealthy conservatives. Let's point to the Christian community. That alone, the top net worth owners in that particular sector, that's well in the hundreds of billions of dollars, if not close to $1 trillion, according to my good friend John Henderson. He's a pastor. So there's a little seeds out there that we can actually get them engaged and be part of this movement of patriotism, constitutional conservatism, winning back and taking back our nation. So it's out there. The problem we've been facing from day one, back in 2018, oddly for me, is censorship. If you do not own the media, you do not have a voice. The only they suckle onto are the teats of CNN, MSNBC, and that's what we're fighting. And what's shaping the public opinion? By the way, when they're bringing it to the court of public opinion, that's the true court. Because the Supreme Court can rule on laws that have been passed. Each lower court can do the same. However, when you have the court of public opinion on your side, it's either comply or civil war. It's those two options. There's no negotiating. You have to comply. That's why they're taking it up to that level, which I applaud that, actually, because that's where it needs to be at this point in history.
And I think you brought up a valid point, but also organizations like CNN, MSNBC, their ratings are so low, nobody's watching them, especially when you start to account for younger generations. For example, in the Biden administration, the students, right, the student age population was the largest turnout in history of that age group, which is, some call it BS, including me. The point is, those people don't watch CNN, MSNBC. I mean, maybe they're forced to watch it in classrooms, like I was in high school before war in Iraq, invasion of Iraq. They're showing us, contractors, American contractors, getting their heads cut off by Al Qaeda in Afghanistan. I remember those videos. I don't understand the purpose of being. Well, I do now. It's traumatizing, and then your brain gets compartmentalized, and any other garbage can be put in the compartment and then recorded later day, like go vote for Biden type of situation. But not to get distraction from this, that generation isn't going to watch TV, isn't going to watch your mainstream sources, legacy sources, and everything else. Nobody else actually understands them, because what works for previous generations, like I'll give you $100 if you're going to go watch my YouTube video. They don't act upon that. They don't do that. Nothing persuades them. They don't even watch TikToks. They don't even do like this. I'm talking about really young generations, like teenagers of today. So there's definitely going to be a different strategy. And that's why I think Glenn and Andre and you can agree with me that the system will be different. The whole system is. And people that are coming up with the technological field are trying to take advantage of that, specifically people like Elon Musk. Andre, you got to say something.
Yeah, I see it coming. A lot of us see it coming. Blockchain, the introduction of blockchain was through currency and through Bitcoin, but there's something about this non-centralized, permissionless culture and the integrity that lies within it and what it's going to generate in the future. Airbnb came along and made an industry that's been around in every major metropolitan center obsolete within 5-10 years. Uber, same thing with taxis. It's going to be the same thing for governance. It's going to be technology. It's going to be transparency at a fraction of the cost. Direct democracy. There's no reason why we're not tapping into that at 2023. It's Switzerland as far as everything's a referendum. There's nothing that's chosen by backdoors and this and that. So in the near future, it's interesting to see what some of these people are working on. And I'd be interested to know in California, what about Peter Thiel? We could make, you could make him feel him out to be like the Soros on the right. I know that he helped Blake Masters run. That didn't work out as far as I remember. But it's men like him. And again, you can't put anybody up on a pedestal at this point. But the fact that he had such a role to play in all these big tech companies, and he was that venture capitalist that actually saved Elon Musk on more than one occasion. I'd be interested to have you two sit down and see what you guys could agree upon, because the stuff that I've read from him in his books, he's very conservative. You know, he understands the Constitution. He wants it more invoked and not so disrespected. What they did to him, I feel like the way that they outed him without his consent, and the way that he seems to be grinding a tooth right now at the establishment, might be an interesting individual to sit with.
I appreciate that.
Well,
I'll check him out. I'm very well aware of Peter. His name's coming up quite a few times in discussion. The question is how to get to Peter.
Yeah, well, if you have a good message and you're genuine, I believe that, you know, you'll attract like-minded people, and we have George Soros to contend and compete with, and the way that he's been coming in with his billions, and he's not going to go broke tomorrow. That's guaranteed with the way he's placing his money and who's investing with cryptocurrency, and how they see transparency and governance, and how they want to apply that. And I'm a big believer. We got to believe in something. So I believe the 2.0 of governance is going to be amazing to witness.
And I believe we actually are in the midst of a change, right? The second coming, you might say. Maybe Jesus is coming. Who knows? But the reason why the things are quickening, and the Project Bluebeam, like UFO things that we're discussing about right now, like the alien invasion, and we're going to cover it in the next episode, that, you know, according to some, you know, what do you call them? Bureau rats, right?
Bureau rats.
Bureau rats, right? According to some bureau rats, we no longer live in the global warming. We live in the what, Glenn? Global boiling.
Global boiling.
Boiling,
Yeah.
right? Now
Oh,
we're at the
jeez.
boiling point. But and there's other things, like when we're seeing the people covering the butts by actually murdering people, right? So the prime example of this cryptocurrency guy dying. And another news that people don't really talk about, and it's not in the legacy media, that should be right now screaming out loud everywhere, is Tafari Campbell died, drowned in like a 4-foot pond. Guess on which property? Michael and Barack Obama's property. And why do I say Michael? Because I believe maybe he saw them having LGBTQ relations, and that's how, you know, or maybe he heard something he wasn't supposed to hear. I don't know.
It got him wet. That's not right. I shouldn't make fun of somebody that passed away.
Don't make fun of the He seems like a nice guy. He was a sous chef at the White House, and maybe he went back. You know, got a nice really job at the retirement home of you know, president and the first Mister. And but you know, the funny part is, and this is where I'm going into comedy, because I mean, we got to laugh about it, but it's serious, because also Clinton's chef has died under similar mysterious circumstances, and it really has happened. The former White House chef drowned while hiking in New Mexico, and according to Hillary's you know, list. You know, what do they call it? The suicide list. You know, how many people do you know that committed suicide?
A list or a phone book now?
At this point, Glenn, it's true. You're right. At this point, it is a phone book.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many hundreds. It's way above 100. But you know, unfortunately, that guy Tafari, he's added to that list too, apparently. So and that's pretty sad. Like I said, he looked like a nice guy. What did he know? What did he find out? And how come that's not more on the news? And how can you drown on the 4-foot pond? By the way, Barack and Michael were at the property at the same time. At first, they said he wasn't, and all the articles, all the news outlets actually reported that he wasn't. But now there's a bombshell story that both of them were present on the property. So what did he hear? What did he saw? You know, maybe they are the aliens. You know, maybe they are the reptilians that Congress was whistleblowing about it. But that story is swept under the rug. Another interesting story is another person that died 10 years ago, and it's not really a story, but under similar mysterious circumstances, a Hawaiian official who released Obama's birth certificate dies in a crash. That happened 10 years ago. All those people somehow die on plane crashes, or they die or they drown in a 4-foot pond. And that's why I think that's the UFO story is so much louder than all those stories, because they want you to focus on something more incredible that's so impactful, like Andre mentioned at the beginning of the segment, you know, like Reagan's wet dream. Let's unite against this extraterrestrial existential threat, when, you know, people that threaten you every day get away with literal murder. And brothers and sisters, it's been a great show here today. Thank you guys for being such an amazing panel. James, thank you for tuning in from California. Thank you for your service, and good luck to you and everything. You, I guess, Andre and Glenn, do you have anything to finish the show with?
I wish you all the best, James, and we're rooting for you.
Oh, thank you, Andre. Appreciate that.
Yeah, and can't wait to have you back on the show again to show us what's going on down there, because like we always say, United States of America is going to lead the free world back to normalcy.
And yes, let's invade Canada once you take your position.
Yes, please.
Please.
All right, well, let's work on that together, gentlemen. We need your help.
Thank you, brothers and sisters, and we'll see you in the next one.